Hello, everyone. Good afternoon and good day to all of you watching. Welcome to our first episode of the Dualogue Committee series. My name is Christopher, and I have been privileged to be the moderator throughout these Dualogue sessions. Let me introduce about Dualogue. Dualogue is an annual live sharing sessions in a form of casual dialogue hosted by Colllab with support by the School of Architecture and Built Environment, UCSI University. We aim to inspire wonder among architectural students and the greater audience with thematic dialogues and conversations. In the year 2021, whilst under lockdown, we hope to break the solitude and gather community workers and designers to discuss their community architecture work and practices. With practitioners from different countries, these dialogues expand the discourse of community work deeper into the challenge with community participations, engagements, and life-building grassroots projects from differing places, cultures, and backgrounds, leading to how we could design the future for the common good. Today, our topic will be community architecture beyond charity. We are very fortunate to have two speakers with us today, and they are both professionals in their field of work. We have an interesting dialogue ahead of us, so sit back and we hope you to stay with us till the end. Without further ado, allow me to introduce our first speaker for today. Chu Kim Duk studied at École d'Architecture de Versailles and had a master's degree in France in 2007. She had 5 years managing a small company, designing and building gardens, as well as landscaping in Hanoi. Kim Duk studied experimental documentary and video art with Hanoi Doctorate from 2011 to 2013. She and her partners, Colllab, founded Think Playgrounds in 2014 as a volunteer group to pilot solutions for public spaces, friendly for children and promote children's right to play. In 2016, she registered as the director of Think Playgrounds, officially a social enterprise. Until 2021, Think Playgrounds worked with partners, communities, and local governments to build over 200 public playgrounds in Vietnam, pilot and expand new models of community engaged in renovating friendly, inclusive, and creative public spaces. She is also named on the list of top 100 influential women in the world by BBC. So let's welcome our first speaker, Chu Kim Duk and Colllab, for further explain their works.
Hello everyone. So it's Kim Duk here, and we just Hanoi just locked down, so we have two separate space for me and my co-founder Nat.
Hello, my name is Colllab, and I'm co-founder of Think Playgrounds. I'm very happy to have a chance to have a live stream with you, and I hope I can share with you any of our experience when I'm in the position of co-founder, and now my previous career is the journalist. But now I'm have a new field to study and to learn more about design playground for children. So I hope to learn from you and to have a conversation with everybody here. And thank you.
So Think Playground we start as a volunteer group because we inspire idea to build a public playground by an American woman who came to Hanoi and want to build playground. So at that time, we just start to build ourselves the playground. So we gather some friends, architects, and we try to make a public playground for a community under Long Biên Bridge in Hanoi. So we find that at that time we found that community really interested in the playground. It was really cheap because we recycle material. So we organize play events to raise awareness of the importance of lacking a playground in Hanoi City.
Because we are just no-name volunteer at that time. But when we arranged that event, there's a lot of parents and grandparents join the events. So that's the that's the number and the evidence of Think Playground to think about the future. And we think that play is very important in our city. And before we never convince ourselves to think about where is the public space, what should be designed, and how people using the public space. So this is the very fresh start for us to for the Think Playgrounds.
So over time, we learn about the concept of play, and we develop the skill to build play equipment, and also we learn about different kind of play event and playground from around the world. So later we form a social enterprise, and until now we work with many partners and communities in Vietnam to build over 200 public playground. We also have a commercial part where we build we have design and build a service for private sector. Next slide, please. So the main thing is we usually have to convince the community and our partners about the importance of play, because play is still considered not important in education or in the well-being of children. So the notion of we try to organize many workshop, conference with experts about the why play is important. And our mission is that every kid in Hanoi shall find a playground closer than a 15-minute walk from her or his home. Next slide, please. So it's kind of 1 kilometer in Hanoi is a very crowded city. And yeah, that's our mission. So we got a sponsor, and we have grant and fund is about nearly 50% of our income, and then we have nearly half from the private commercial part. Okay, next please. So about the Hello Play Space. So the play it start with we got funding from Franco-German Culture Fund. So the idea is that we will learn from experts from French and Germany about the play design and also the landscape and playscape from a French expert. That you want to ask something? The space is in a community house in Đông Anh. It's quite a suburban of Hanoi, and the community is close together, and they have big space, but nothing in there for children. So with the expert, we organize. I think it's one of the most interesting workshop we had. So we come up with some ideas. We showed with the community, and we divide in several groups with different kind of express their opinions or design. So children can join the group of modeling and drawing to design the playground, and the old people, they like to draw, or they can talk directly with us, or they can join the draw and the modeling too. So different I think 4 or 5 group, they in a separate way, and they can join each group at any time.
So with this kind of workshop, we learn a lot and how to gather the ideas of community. This is very important process of Think Playground work.
So later we work with the expert to come up with the final design, and then we also have a plan for community getting involved in the construction, so they can and community and volunteer can support for the building.
If they build the playground, it means they are the owner of the playground.
And also this design is very interesting because we see that children have many different and creative ways to interact with this structure, and it's even this is a lot much more better than simple equipment.
So this is the kind of building the landscape with the unusual material like the wood logs and tire and wood board. So, and even we build with it a very randomly way of running around on the equipment. It's like the flow of the movement. So the kids have many way to find the way to play with that unique equipment.
So because this session's only about a case study, but I hope we can keep in touch because Think Playground, we do a lot of different kind of design in the public space. We have community garden, parklet, and also we have artwork from artists to create for children to play. So please get in touch. We have a Facebook page here, and I hope to connect with you all later. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Okay, thank you, Kim Tok and Kodak, for sharing your experience with us. It was very interesting and very impressed words. So moving on, before inviting our second speaker, here's a short biography of her. Doris Gregg from Colllab, an architectural curator, educator, innovator, and cultural worker. Her architectural pursuit is directed towards curations, public space, and humanitarianism. Co-founded Little Planet Project Lab and Buku in 2016, while practicing architecture under design practice Titawoe Atelier. In the year 2018, she curated and activated Appendance Warehouse space into a shared artist hub named Kongsi KL, and initiated Squares or Dualogue as an art and creative culture mapping collective. While lecturing at UCSI University, she played the role of research lead in Epic Communities and finally founded Colllab in 2019. So let's put our hands together for Doris Gregg.
Okay, hi everyone. Thank you, Kim Duck and Kok Dat, on the sharing. Yeah, I've been seeing like their work like since a few months before, I think last month, on the cultural hub Mekong. So maybe I'll share first, then we can have a dialogue later. Yeah, today we are going to talk about like Karamat Garden Library, which is we just finished actually end of last year, December. Maybe I'll start with what Colllab and what our role is in community architecture in general. So after much of the consideration, we end up to set up ourselves as a research lab. So seeking for architectural solution for the betterment of the community and public user. So there's a word that we like to use, which is like community aid architecture, which we situated ourselves in a position of an assistant and be clear on our role or our expertise and task in terms of providing design and architectural solution. So in community aid, we simply don't stand as a singular unit and often have to work with a lot of parties, stakeholders, especially the community. So most of the time, these communities become like our research partner, which equally contributed their expertise, their time, and also the funding to seek for the advancement of their built environment into improving the people's life, quality of life. So talking about Taman Karamat, which is the site. So Taman Karamat is situated in Ampang. So it's within this urban fabric of Rumah Pangsa AU2 Ropok. that accommodates estimately 2,300 populations. This community has been active since even before that. They self-initiated a community farm that become an important social space, and with that they successfully minimize the crime activities happened in that area. So the idea started a few years ago, which is actually initiated with wanting to build a bridge across the river to make it accessible at first. So alongside with some facilities like the mini libraries and things like that. But while Taman Karamat community was happy with the proposal, some of the other side wanted to keep their places serene and distance. So although that plan doesn't go along, we continue to develop a relationship with the community since. So until 2019, Pak Halim, one of the community leaders, then approached us and said that let's kickstart with the library first. So as their children are deprived of the communal space that they could stay a while their parents are busy in the community farm. So that's where we start organize our team to start the design and communication with the community, most especially to communicate, to find a solution basically for this piece. So even before the project, our team has started to look into this research of assemble to assembly, which is a fast construction, fast assemble architecture to gather people, which is an assembly. So we look into types of joinery that can actually contribute to the knowledge of that. So at the same time, we also have a sort of like a piece of a module, which is the, we call it a MacLab bench. So this bench is what our semester one, all the students should actually be part of and to start their exploration with the woodwork. So all the student has to start to make this bench basically. So we have like unlimited supply of the benches. So this is the example of the bench, which is could be quite easy for the first timer to actually start the woodwork explorations. And then the bench also, it's from the idea of with modularity. So then we can actually assemble it into different ways and different configurations for different users. So these benches then travel into different places, and then we set up like part of exhibitions, maybe part of like the community engagement sessions, which is with like our maps and discussions, open up discourse, and also like our gallery and things like that. So it is with the idea of how do we actually able to use like a simple modular system to actually gather the people. So then we also like assist in some of the community projects before to also set up a gathering space for the children. So then we come back to this Karamat Garden Library. So from there, then when Pak Halim sort of like opens up again about like, let's start with the mini library first. We don't wait for the other things to happen. So then we start with looking into, can we actually incorporate this and be part of the experiment with the community themselves? So we open up the idea of how do we actually wanted to develop this fast construction modular system to the Pak Halim, and then they seems like they're keen to actually start. So and that time is the starting of MCO1. So we have actually a lot of challenge of the whether is able to cross district or whether we are in RMCO, CMCO. So that is a time that actually quite challenging for us to plan anything, but we have a community that are very supportive. So from there, so how do we start this? Or the funding is that we have a proposal prepared by our leader that, then we get support from Kin Foundation, which is also supporting our dialogue today. And also then we get 8,900 ringgit from there. And from the community side, they then fundraise. So they fundraise about 7,000, which is, I think, then it makes us almost like 60-40 on the portion of the funding. Then from the community side, then we have to align ourselves to what is our role, what do we do in this, this piece of public space, what can we help, and what can you contribute as well as a different expertise. So then when we line up, then I think the community themselves actually started into clearing the ground and clearing the site to prepare for the pouring of the concrete floor and things like that. So there's a lot of things that actually then I think the community actually has more expertise than us, as some of them are actually builders themselves. So a lot of things are actually on the live build side, we have to learn from the community instead of like we propose something lah. So they might think like this is not working lah, tak boleh buat lah begini. So we then start to think about how do we actually incorporate like the idea of the modularity, the benches, and with the idea of having a mini library in the community. So then we start to think about how do we actually develop the modular system into maybe then we have the band plies that can support the entire architecture, but at the same time then we provide more space for the shelvings and also like a spacious space for people to gather, to sit inside and then sit around it. So one thing about communication towards a community is that we always have to visualize things. So model here is not just about like retesting about this entire how architecture is, but also at the same time we need to visualize for the community to understand how how this piece we're going to be on the site, and they will think that how does it suits, whether it suits or not to the community themselves, to their their community. So at the same time, because we are also trying out on some of the like sort of like innovative piece, which is the band ply, we did not able to get a sort of like a prefabricated band ply, so we have to actually fabricate ourselves with laminate. Actually, this ply is 18 mm, so we have to laminate 6 pieces of 3 mm to match up to the 18 mm. But it's good also because once we laminate, it's also pre-stress it so that it's also like until its ultimate strength. So at the same time, we are thankful also with
so I don't know about maybe another layer inside or outside, and then the board sandwich with these columns. Like this one is sandwich, and the inside is there's a board like this, and then connect to this bit of horizontal element like the plaster. So I don't know many layers, but these columns sandwich this.
So we also has this chance because once we have a certain idea of the design, then we can actually open up for more expertise to join us to actually further develop these modules. So we are also thankful for Professor Hiroto from Japan to actually then come in because he has the expertise on dealing with veneer architecture.
So
then in our lab ourselves, due to like also MCO, then we have that our own prototype to set up in our lab to test out like 1-to-1
24
size.
Oh yeah.
So then we end up have this certain design that actually then and Park Halim, which is the community, is able to use this for their fundraising as well. So then we start with our construction. So when we start construction, because this is a live build and we have like this quite a specific sequence to actually set up this piece. So from there, then we have this handbook prepared by our members also so that everyone are on the same page on what going on next. So I think this is quite important when we start on our live build, is that everyone have a clarity on how does it goes, because the site is actually not that big, and we have to actually go like delivering things and the tools and materials at every growth of the sequence. So one quite interesting anecdote is that although the communities on Karamat site has already known about like the design because they've seen the mock-ups, but when we delivered these pieces of like plywood benches and plywood bent plies to the site, they were actually quite shocked, because for them they start to actually get a little bit doubtful, because like for them plywood is quite a temporary not like structure, temporary materials. Then they have to like keep asking us like, does it stand well, does it work? So I think that is the time that actually we're able to see how they're actually trying to adapt to this. But then I think it's also generous for them to then let us to start first. We say like, maybe we start first and then we see how. So then we start to construct this piece of like fast construction architecture. So in that time, then I think a community site, then they are more experienced with the welding and then they start to educate us basically our members, to actually start to do weldings, how to set up the roof as well. So Pak Ali is one of our heroes here that actually leads through the entire process, and then be with like all this different process and stop us from doing like foolish things as well. So only after we set up almost like 80%, then the community start to feel a little bit lega. So they start to able to appreciate, and then they start to like tell us that, oh, it's actually quite nice. Yeah, so I think that is the part that actually we are actually looking into how is the expectation of community during this entire process. So that is almost it. Yeah, so maybe I play a final video before it ends.
Tunggu sekejap, wahai kasih, kerana hujan masih renyai. Tunggu sekejap, dalam pelukan asmaraku. Jangan bimbang, walaupun siang akan menjelma. Malam ini belum puas ku berjumbu dengan Dinda. Tunggu sekejap, wahai kasih, tunggulah sampai hujan teduh. Mari ku dendam, jangan mengenang orang jauh. Jangan pulang, jangan tinggalkan aku seorang. Tunggu sekejap, tunggu kasih. Tunggu sekejap.
Yeah, so I think that is about the construction of the library. So actually, talking about fast construction, we estimated the assembly to be 4 days, but due to monsoon, so we have like every half of the day is in rain. So we have to drag until I think almost 10 days of assembling this entire library. I think that is one thing that we also need to actually see is that when we start to develop this kind of like modular system that are a little bit more sensitive to the water, I think that's one thing that we need to really look into further. Okay, I think almost the end. So one thing about like working the communities is that how do we actually leave things blank also? I think that's one thing that we want to discuss is that how much do we do and how much we are not doing so that community can be actually be part of it and be involved. So I think one thing about being as a research entity is that community and us is actually on an equal platform because we are both looking at the same what can we do, what do we contribute at this piece of like research basically. So this is the end of the my presentation, but I think I previously mentioned about like the sponsorship, the funding that we got, but during the process actually we get more sponsors when like some of the news are out, some of the information is out, especially like when our design is out. So when our design is out, I think then we have like cabinets company that actually come and contact us like, oh, maybe I can sponsor in terms of like shelvings or like any cabinetries that you guys need. And with the roof also, then we have like sponsors that think like, oh, maybe I can support you with the roof materials. So instead of monetary, then I think a lot of different parties able to actually comes into this kind of activities and to actually contribute. Then beyond that, then after when this library is built, then the library was sponsored for 1,000 books by Book Access as well. So I think this is one part that is quite interesting into look into how do we have these resources around that it's not just monetary but different stakeholders able to actually join in for different expertise or different resources. Yeah, I think that's all from my side. Christopher?
All right. Thank you, Doris, great for sharing your story with us. I think next we will move on to our Dualogue sessions. But before that, I would like to remind to our audience, if you have any questions, please drop it at the comment sections as our speakers will do their best in answering all of them. And once again, thank you, Think Playgrounds and Colllab for sharing their works. I really like how Think Playgrounds use recycled materials from the charity or donations to make into such interactive public spaces for kids, while they still took a very well considerations into the safety purposes. Also, it's a sustainable act to solve the community needs. So let's get into the conversations. For both speakers, do you have any thoughts on each other's works? Perhaps we can go with Doris first.
Yeah, I think I mentioned on the beginning of my my presentation that I have actually looked through Think Playground's work. I really like actually one thing about Think Playgrounds is that they sort of wanted to challenge the mindset, right, of the people about play, the mindset about how important play is within children and how easy a play structure can be constructed with the actually community themselves too. So I think that actually bring a huge change with like our sort of like our public entity, right? So that like how do our public space can actually then bring in the play kind of play ideas. So yeah, we tried to also construct like a play structure in a sort of like a village in end of last year too. Yeah, but that is like a completely different story. So maybe I can ask a little bit more on like later.
Yeah.
Also, about me, I feel that the design is really beautiful. It's elegant, and I think it's reflect the form of Malaysian traditional architecture, right? Because we work with Japanese experts, and my sensei also build a gate with that form too, and it's quite strange in Vietnam. We never, but it's cute because it's an playground with the Japanese expert with the Japan involved. So it's very cute. We have that kind of shape as a gate as a playground.
With what? With what material?
With
The shape,
tree trunk.
Tree trunk.
Tree trunk. Yeah,
So
it's really
they have to
strange.
find the tree trunk that's shaped like this.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
where is it? Where is that playground?
it's near Hanoi, in
It's
a
not Hanoi.
suburban near Hanoi.
Ah, okay. For us is that actually it comes to a quite good coincidence because it doesn't start with wanting that shape, but because we have to think of the material that being like very basic, which is what we can do is like plywood lah basically. Then how do we actually able to support that we without more supporting structure for the roof? So then when we come into that shape, the community was very happy.
Oh.
Because it's a Malay community, so they are like thinking, oh yeah, that actually fits us. Yeah, so we are quite happy too, because we are quite worried.
yeah. When I see the process of construction, I feel very familiar with us because in the beginning, Think Playground is a volunteer, so we build with community a lot, and we have working outdoor and raining, and things happen, and maybe it's longer than our plan. It's from 4 days, 10 days, very easier, and so but it's very nice experience and feeling when you work with community and you feel how the people change their mind day to days and how they react with the process when the things happen and bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah,
So that's
yeah.
very nice feelings.
I think it is about like the everyday, like we have 10 days. So every day we like maybe the first 5 days we don't see anything. So yeah, but I think our community is very nice. So they keep like cooking Malay food for us. So we have been fed very well. And yeah, but because we have a second community here, which is a building community, which is like all of the participants is their first time building. So I think after these 10 days is quite changing for them as well. And yeah, they are also one of them that actually started to wanting to host this Dualogue on community projects. Yeah.
So we think it's very important for students from the architecture university to build something community things. We sometimes we have students join us too, but because it's only playground, so sometimes not very attractive for the architecture university in here. They once have a playground design contest, but it's not very attractive for the architecture university. I think it's a pity because play design is so interesting, and it could be very like artsy way to make it.
I have a few questions here for theme playgrounds. As I've seen a lot of your projects with different design equipments and also play spaces, I would like to ask, how could you know what does the children want or need in the playgrounds?
What thing need in the playground?
Yeah,
What
what
children need?
what children need in the playground or what they wanted to play in.
Oh,
Or how you find out?
Yeah.
How you find out from them?
Normally we could involve them in designing things or modeling the playground they want. But what we realize that children really like to play with ordinary things because they like to explore things that adults use, like if you have children, you will see that they like to play with thing in the house, like with chair, with houseware, everything. But they don't really like to play with toys. So we organize a lot of events that children play with kind of chess. Of course, we will prepare before, but they play and they become very creative when they understand the material. They can build a lot of creative things, and especially you can realize that kindergarten like to play with sand, so they can play all day with sand and water. They play on sand or water all day, so that is the best creative things that we could that we find that every children like.
So in the design perspective, I think the children, when you observe enough, you spend a lot of time to see how the kids interact with many kind of structure, not only equipment. When see how to improve the design. So in community, normally we design very basic things like swing, slide, and seesaw, balance. So this is very basic one. But with if you got a good fund or have a chance to working with the investor who really want to invest to improve the design for kids, so we will have more ability to and more funding to involve in the way of design things very many kind of ways to make the kids interact with the equipment in many ways. But normally the material of think playground is very important to make the design. So like we build the playground with the wood blocks. So it's from wood and it's round one and high. So it's very important. Like it's different from when you build from the metal pole. So in the metal pole with not have a character, but with the wood, it's different. We have a two pole, but it's a different shape. So this is very important for kids because they see the different things and object. So even the design of natural material is very strong in the visual. So this is, I think, very important in design of playground and how to make the kids more curious about the things around them. So it's make it different from the industrial playground. So the design from the wood and the natural wood is very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, that's very interesting, like how you actually created a workshop for children to try out in hands. Yeah, in a practical way, they actually knows like what they really want or what they're really interested in. There's questions from our audience. From Ling Zhongyang. He would like to ask how you guys convince the different communities to build the playgrounds in their places.
So I think I answered it, right? Okay, so
Yep. Sir.
I think think playground we start from convincing the first community we met to be playground, and they really they agree and they love it. I think a playground is quite easy to convince that because everyone can see the result, the happy of children. But sometimes it's difficult in urban area where there are a lot of different use of the public space. So we will try to make it inclusive public space. That means the public space for everyone. But of course, we will save a place for the playground, but we will design other things as well. So I think it's the most sustainable way to create a playground in the public space because everyone needs to use the public space too.
Do you able to convince like the authorities when you need to convince the authorities when you build in the public like urban space?
So we need to convince the local government, but after a while we make a lot of media talk a lot about Teen Playground. So we are very lucky that local government usually come to us to ask to build playground. And the thing is, when we try to make playground in a bigger, more important place, we usually do it in a small space that not really not economically profitable. So it's easy. But when it comes to a bigger place, an important park in center of the city, it's very very difficult. And we try many times to build a playground in Hoàn Kiếm Lake at the center of Hanoi, but many years, and we talk a lot with the government leader of the district, but still not convinced to build playground there.
So I want to add more, like with the committee from the beginning when we first arranged the play day event, we have a kind of trick like when finish the event, we will give the equipment for free for anyone to sign on the, I want this equipment. So that's the convince committee when they see, oh, I will have the free equipment from that event. So that's the way, it's kind of way we want to have a kind of a move, like push a bit for the committee to see, oh, you can have a free equipment. So that's the beginning, the first our event. So we kind of have a key to open to the committee to get them closer to us, and they open the gate for us to, okay, come in our committee. We have a free place. So from the beginning, on the first event play day, we have a chance to build the playground in the apartment square. So that's the very good start. And the secondly, I think the community they really want the kind of solution is very fast and cheap way. So we will design things so not too complicated and easy to build, and only 1 or 2 days we can install things. So that will not a complicated process. So it's easy to persuade the community to have a playground.
Yeah, I just want to add one thing that we promote for children's right to play, and we try to organize event to attract media to talk about the importance of play, why play is important. So so a lot of community come to us to ask to build playground because they hear about it. They understand why play is very important for their children. So they we mostly community come to us to ask for build playground.
Okay, thank you for your sharings. I hope Lim, you get your answer. So from our topic today, let's jump in our topic. Our topic today is community architecture beyond charity. So perhaps we can open up to discuss how does both our speakers stand on this. I would like to ask Kintut and Dat, can you share with us what made you to develop your practice in the form of social enterprise? Like how does it different from normal practices of NGO or design practice?
So I think it's when we turn to volunteer group, we were a volunteer group, and at the beginning we think that we will never chance to build a playground, and we want we just want to make a public playground. But later when some private school asked us to build playground, we think so it's okay, we can sell some play equipment, and then we get some profit to put back for the community playground. And then we sell equipment, and the private sector, they are really asking for high quality product with a reasonable cheap price. So yeah, we have to compete in the market, and so we think that it's good because we improve our product, and that product we can we develop it, and we can make a better product for community. So when we start to make a social enterprise, we think that it's really a good thing to be both have a commercial part where you can develop the product, and have a community part where we can connect with a lot of different stakeholders, different partners around the country and in other countries as well. So really a good thing to be both and become a social enterprise. That you want to ask something?
Yeah, I think social enterprise is kind of hybrid model. Like one hand you working like NGO, and other hand you working like the normal company. So in the perspective of company, you have to survive in the market. This means you have to have a real ability. You have to be strong enough to survive, and you don't need to sitting and just waiting for the fund. So we're looking for a chance to expand the market. So this is the good way to have a independent financial way to survive, and to keep to follow the bigger target and longer. So in the other place, in the other way, with the working like the non-profit field, so you will to find more people have a skill to develop in the how to develop the project, like working with the community and building the common community garden. So in the NGO way, you have more, have more chance to find the fund and find the target in many ways. So I think the hybrid model is quite flexible to survive.
How about Ms. Doris? What would you see the distributions of resources in terms of Colllab?
Yeah, I totally agree with how Kinduk and Cookdat has actually structured like Think Playgrounds, because I think that's definitely is needed. So we need both sides to actually balance out. I think how we started, because Colllab is not comparable because we just started. So we are sort of like, but we situate as ourselves as a research lab now. For one, I think main reason is that we need a lot of expertise to actually join us together to develop a lot of different type of architecture, or like important. So we have 3 important nodes now, which is like the first is assemble to assembly, and then we have public place too, which is similar idea of like the importance of place, and the last one is responsive. So in these 3 different parts, then we need different expertise to actually come in to bring a better solutions before we able to prototype, and also like build with the communities, and also be involvement of our communities. But sooner or later, then we definitely have to find a way to also then balance out how do we actually has a running sort of like company. so that this can be actually be self-funded at a certain like testing of the projects. But so far, I think as long as we start, I think one thing about how do we start a project is that we cannot just stop at thinking. We have to like start acting. So once we act, when we start, and we start to make, actually, people are visual. People need to see, oh, there's certainly something is been doing, like people are doing it already. Then a lot of actually stakeholders are coming in later. Then they sort of think like, oh, I actually have this, maybe like the tree trunks, like I can actually be able to sponsor to you. Then you suddenly have the materials. Then some of them is like, let's bring food to them. So there's I think people plays different part when we have like a project like this. Yeah. Did I answer your question?
Yes. All right. Let's turn to next. As we know, in designing to a community, the designers holds the key to influence our community positively. So for both speakers, do you have any special strategies for your own community engagement activities? Perhaps we could go with Think Playgrounds.
So I think we mentioned in the slide that we try to have different approach for the community to engage in the design and try to involve in the construction also. But the problem is it's not every project gets that chance to interact that deeply with the community. So that if we can work with community not only that only time, but later after the construction built, we can continue to support them for the maintenance or for the work later. It's really it needs a long interaction and constant between expert and community, because we can support from them as technical problem solving, but it's really difficult for us or for any other group, I think, to keep like a long relationship and interaction with any community. So we did learn the model of adventure playground, where it's really something very simple for children and community to interact with nature material in the playground, and easy to build and rebuild again. But it's in a very like ideal model, and in reality there are many obstacles in the process. So so we still keep trying, and hope that over time the notion of free play and the actual the process working with community become more popular. So it could be easier for any group to get community involved.
I have one question to top up from here. Is it okay to Kim Duck? Is that because from our experience during the playground process, is that the community is very concerning of the safety as well. But there's some parts of the play is supposed to be adventurous, right? For the kids, they like to jump, but that is not the sort of like standard height, right, of like walking or like going up to the stairs. So how does this tension going on the safety and fun?
Yeah, so it's a very popular question about the safety of the playground. But we get something. We from the knowledge we get from play. That risky play is very important. We have a conference with expert about play, so they can analyze why risky play is important. How the act of jumping from high or run very fast or many other risky things. So it can have an impact in the brain and actually make it the kid more focused when they're learning. So yeah,
does
so
the community can able to accept this?
So we just talk with them, and sometimes we have a question: What did you play when you were a child? And yeah, many people realize that they play really hard when they were a child, and now they just stop their children to play. So, and maybe anh Đạt have some experience with the risky things.
Yeah. So the most important things we learn from Japanese expert when we running the project Adventure Playground is when you have a good process with the community, you will put them in the position of the designer, not the customer. So it is very important because when the parents in the position of customer, they will have a the acting like complain. They always complain because it's the way of customer, and the way of customer always complain about why is that, why not perfect, why it's not in the right product. So it's not a good way to interact parents with the equipment and with the playground. So when you're working in the right process and people involved in the design from the beginning, so they will think about if I play, so what should it be? And when we find a way to remind them about the childhood, so they will think different. So when they're not a customer, they will be the one who build the playground. So they will have open mind, and they want to bring more chance for their kids to improve their skill, how to survive. Because in Japan, some kids they don't know how, they know what is the fire, but they don't really touch, they really don't make a fire. So some kids they even touch the fire and they get burned because they only see on the YouTube and they know things, but they don't really understand. So in the way we work with the community, the parents involved in deeply in the process of design, so they will not a customer. So this is very important, and they will accept the risky part when we talk to them and explain to them what is the hazard thing, what is the risky thing. So hazard thing is mean you have to reduce as much as you can, like the sharp and the fallen and the gap and the railing, how high is, and which head is cannot dangerous. And if it's higher, it means have something softer in the ground. So they know things, they will accept the risky thing. So that if they don't understand why that, they will complain. So this is very important.
And also, it's also about culture, because we know that in the United States, so people say the playground builder are loyal because they get a lot of complaint that they cannot build anything risky, because in the US is you cannot build risky thing for the children. So it's maybe it's culture too. But in Japan, we came at the adventure playground, and the attitude is really trust the children, so they can even hide. They climb very high up in the roof of the house, and no one stop them. And they usually they don't have serious accident, and that is the point.
Yeah. So in the American way, they kind of functional way. So there's I know in US or in the Western, there's a movement of parents and the playground designer who want to break the rules. So adventure playground is kind of the model in the gray zone. So they don't have a kind of, it's really a safety standard. But the play worker who design the playground and build the playground, they deeply understand the safety standard and how to step out of the box. You know, they don't follow the strict rules. They will breaking the rules, still safe but risky. So in US, there's a movement. They try to put the adventure playground in US, but as I know, they only have tools. But in Japan, they have much more. It means they have more, you know, more open mind than the American.
Doris, would you have anything to add on?
I forgot what's the question. What's the question again?
Do you have any special strategies for your on-committee engagements?
My strategies is you guys lah, basically the students. Being able to because I think part of being a student is actually quite a strength to talk to communities. They are being more generous to students. They are more allow students to try out things, and then also like sometimes more eager also to teach the students as well. So I think one of the things that when we form a project is that we try to be sort of a little bit more open end, that we don't fix everything like this is your library, you know, this looks like that, and then that's all, end of a story. But we leave what you can, you know, what we can change, you know, what you would like to actually be part of. I think be part of is quite important. That actually dictates on how successful is a project is with the community, how well maintained later also, because then how much community will felt belong with that piece that actually be in their community. Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Doris. We have heard a lot of team playgrounds that started with volunteers or group. So here's a question for you. How do you foster a strong relationship between your team of volunteers and the community? As I know, team playgrounds influence a lot of the nearby residentials to encourage them to join in the activities. So how do you foster this relationship between your team and them?
So we start as a volunteer group, and we stay at volunteer for 2 years, and we just try to talk with the community and have a discussion. And so at that time we build everything we bring material to the place, and we just build the playground there. So communities, they come by, they share their opinion, and they support or they borrow things to do something themselves. So it is easy. It's easy.
Yeah, we know it's quite hard to actually do a charity or community project without the resources, especially the materials. If someone would like to kickstart a community project, what is your advice to them?
First you have to have kind of a survey. I come to the community and talk with people. First, people must be a kind of community leader or some kind of key person who really active in the community work. And then you need to talk to a lot of different people and to get the idea of the place. But yeah, it's ideally if you can do that, is really good. But in the real situation that we face, normally in Vietnam, you cannot do it like that. So it's very lucky if you can have in contact with the community, a lot of contact, talk and share, and even have workshop with children. So we'll talk with local government also.
How about Ms. Doris? Do you have any advice to give to kickstart a community project?
I think if you mean, do you highlight who, like graduates or like, you know, practitioner? I think practitioner
For
is
students,
for students.
For
Okay.
yeah, fresh graduates.
All right. I think for students, I think one thing that you guys will be actually looking into is that instead of thinking about a project, like a project already is a little bit a load, take a load of it, but maybe start with just thinking about the relationship between people, because it's definitely a community is a collective of people. So when you communicate with certain community, then you communicate with a lot of people. So a lot of people, sometimes it's not all positive, not all negative. So you need to know that this is in a form of communications, in a form of collaborations. Then when you have a certain community that are you working with, then slowly, like it's just about like a time that when they know about your expertise, when they know what you're capable of, and if they need anything, they'll be naturally come to you. And that then it start like the process of what Kim Duck was saying just now. Then you start to do the survey and how to get the funding. Yeah.
Okay, there's a specific questions for you, Doris.
Oh.
In what way does it actually create impacts towards larger context of the surrounding? Because you mentioned about the crime rate in Kampong Karamat site. Does your project able to help in?
I think the crime rate has been reduced once the community has started the community farming. So before that, there's no AU2 roll pop community garden. So that time the crime rate was high because the community doesn't know each other. So when they have a sort of like a community farm, then you know the people, the adults start to work in the farm together. They start to cook together, eat together. They know each other. So it's about this security in general. It's like how do we look after each other, but how do this piece of like the mini library comes along is that then it actually able to let the kids to come when the parents are working in the farm. So that then change a little bit of demography of who is using this social space. So it's not just the adults, then the kids able to have a like piece of place for them to actually gather. So in that case, then it's a little bit more involved in the education, that a little bit change on the education. We have to say that we are actually like, because we talk about community aid, so we exist in this certain parcel of things, but a lot of things actually have to activate by the community. But quite, how to say, when you have an architecture piece, even that it's just a place, right, a public place, right, that if it's workable, then the community able to imagine more that what they can do with this place. So when we have the library, then I think the Pak Halim, which is a leader of the community garden, start to plan a lot of different activities, including like the baca solat with the kids, including then they start to think about maybe we should have more of the like environmental books instead, and we have class like that and things like that. So then that slowly built up the impact. But I wouldn't say that it start like when the, you know, when the thing is built, then that's the impact. But it definitely has to go by the test of the time. Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Ms. Doris. I hope the answer is good to you. There's one more questions about the structures of the design. On any community's project of yours, how would you get advice on structural elements if you neither have of having any, if you don't have any engineering background? Can I have advice from Team Playground?
Actually, I am architect. So yeah, I know a little bit about structure, but yeah, it's not really a problem because sometimes we have volunteer who is architect or engineer. And also we work with a wood workshop where we have experienced woodworker, and also we learn from the internet, and we learn a lot from the project, the library project. Yeah, it's very beautiful. So yeah, and also sometimes we have architectural student and engineer student also join our group.
And I think the playground is not complicated like the building house. So this the engineering is not a too big problem with us to solving. So I think playgrounds is not. We lucky when we have a wood workshop, and the chef, the leader of wood workshop, he's have a very long experience building things. So he's the one who helped us a lot to make the structural safety.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
So
You can go.
for Colllab, it's a little bit more straightforward because we can sort of work with like engineering departments or from the other school as well. I think for this one, we work with UITM engineering department to sort of get a certain advice. Then during the build, because we're dealing with also live building, so in the community team, actually the Pak Ali, the one that we showed just now, is actually he himself is a contractor. So he himself will tell us, what to like on the structural advice as well, on the how the fixing, or is it okay, is it not okay. I think then we have the community experts to actually help us with that.
Okay. I think we talked a lot about our own projects. I'd like to ask, what was the most memorable project other than yours? Perhaps Doris could go first.
Oh, I can say something that actually quite inspired me in the recent time. I think there's one project that I think is by Akibler. But because we have them on our third episodes, which I think is a project from Taiwan, and then it's actually also is within a school inside the university, which is a public space. I think I'll leave a little bit more on the content that for Eric to actually explain himself. But yeah, so I think I'll pass this question to Kim Dot, maybe, or like Kong Dat.
So I think I'm really impressed by the first the venture playground, how children create things in Tokyo. So I think we all be very impressed by this kind of playground. But personally, I like the artwork, but I don't know the name. Sorry, but it's kind of very abstract playground. That is look very interesting. But yeah, I love it. But I just found it on the internet. I don't know the author.
Yeah, talking about in Japan, I think there's one more that I can add on is I think they also work with children. So basically what they do is that I don't remember the name as well, but I followed them in the IG. So I think what they do is that they create like internal landscape. So within like a big hall, then they create like this sort of like a curved landscape, like with maybe marine ply and things like that. But what they do is that they get the kids to actually just run around, but they do interview with the kids that how would you think like how playground should be, how to play and things like that. So sometimes with the curved landscape, then they have the also like the sensors or like the projections, so the kids actually interact with the projection as well, and then also be part of observing how the kids actually move around, how the kids play. So I think that whatever is quite inspiring as well.
Because we are doing community architecture, as we know, this is a public space for everyone. So this interactive spaces has been largely used by daily. So how would you try to maintain the public spaces? Is it hard to deal with it? Especially in playgrounds, we have kids to playing around every day.
Yes, so the most important that we involve the community in owners process. So after the project, we can hand over for the community taking care of themselves of the playground. Of course, we try to keep contact and support them for any technical issue. But it's very important that the community have ownership of the place. They can rebuild and they can maintenance or they overtime. So yeah, so it's I think it's never on us to do the maintenance, but rather we should work with community to get them involved from the very beginning, and they could have skill, knowledge, and they could maintain themselves.
How would the playground last long?
No. So usually, even you have a very expensive playground usually doesn't last long because it's really have the kids play on it very hard and it's could easily broken. We fix many expensive playground in Hanoi, so we can see it you have to maintain it over time, and it's a normal process of playground.
So with the import playground from Japan or US, it can stay in a good quality about 5 years. But after 5, if you don't have a maintained activity, so it will be not good shape. And one of the things we learned from Japan is the playground have the circle of life. So we will start with the community, and when you inspect it and it's going not safe, we will have an event to demolish the playground. So the committee together they demolish one, but it's be the committee decide and like say goodbye to the old memories. So this is kind of way to to build and demolish things.
Yeah, we have heard a lot of issues from building playgrounds. Have you
It's like
any?
the playground has grown up.
Are there any issues from your side, Doris, for the public library?
Maintenance, yeah, definitely. But I think the key thing is about the community themselves will need to be the one that able to maintain it. So so if they are not keen to maintain it, then maybe it's not meant to be. Just as simple as that. So if it's meant to be, and if during the construction, during the process that is part of the community, then naturally they would think that this is part of their place, so actually they have to keep. So I think for Karamat, that we don't really have this problem because they are active community that are constantly working at the garden, so they constantly doing improvements. I think similar to that is that you have to leave the part that the community can, like, they feel that they can change anything according to their use. It's not like this is a final and then to keep the beautiful face, although that a lot of people will thought that, oh, this is like beautiful as it is, but they have to be knowing that they can change. They can actually like decrease, they can actually hack things, they can actually change the entire things to fit their use.
All right. I guess it's around 4:30. I guess that will be the end of our Dualogue sessions. And I would like to conclude for these sessions. So from their sharings, we know theme playgrounds combine their project management and design expertise to ensure that children in urban areas have easy access to play, while Colllab's mission is to improve the quality of life for urban poor by building a public library that provides access to educational resources and the opportunity to read. So we actually noticed that they are having the parallels in their efforts to develop engaging public areas while still resolving the community needs. Yeah, to summarize that, I believe that our communities will gain empowerment as a result of this community design process, which can also motivate others to engage in these activities. Yep. So before we end these sessions, I would like to also introduce about our guidebook that is happening. This year, we are aiming to produce a comprehensive research-based guidebook for community architectures. This book will take a deeper dive into the issues and challenges faced by different countries' community architecture projects, and we will also construct a clear reflections of the mistakes and faults, as well as the strengths and learning outcomes respectively. Of course, none of this would be easy without the generous support from our community. So I would like to raise a crowdfunding here to make our guidebook happen. We would greatly appreciate it if you could contribute any amount to our team. If you wish to support us, please contact our UCSI Survey Facebook page, or you could click the link below in the comment section for further details. On behalf of our team, we'd like to thank you in advance for your contributions. So speakers, would you like to plug in your socials for our fellow audience? Maybe you could share with us your Facebook fan page and the comment.
Yeah, I can just put into the comments. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I guess that brings us to the end of our session today. A very special thanks to our speaker, Chukin Dut and Kodat from Think Playgrounds and Doris Quek from Colllab, as well as the organizing team behind. I believe that this has been a fruitful session. Yeah, we hope to see you again in our next Dualogue, and do like our page at UCSI Survey to receive the latest updates. Stay safe and see you again soon.